She says it's science. Something about aerosols. And albedo, the blacksmith just shrugs and sharpens his tools. Skies. Broken, he mutters. Best keep busy. That's how everyone deals now. Busy hands. Nervous smiles, but even busyness has its limits. Overhear a letter being read aloud at the tavern from a cousin in London. It says, "The cold has returned. I do not recall what warm bread tastes like. The river has frozen again. It is May, obscure tidbit, after Tambora erupted." Strange halos began appearing around the moon. Called volcanic coronas, these rings were visible even on cloudy nights. People wrote poems about them. Others just stayed inside fact. Tambora's eruption sent over 100 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the upper atmosphere. This created a sulfuric haze that lowered global temperatures by -3 degrees Celsius for the next year. One of your neighbors, Mrs. Weller, the one with the herb garden and the three-legged cat, says she had a dream last night of a mountain roaring underwater, followed by falling stars. You don't take her seriously, but the image clings to you. Another neighbor coughs constantly. Now, summer chills, they call it, but there's a different weight to it, like the cold is getting inside people. Not just their bodies, but their spirits. There's a new phrase you hear whispered now. Between markets and church pews, the sun has changed. It has, or rather, the air around it has scholarly debate. Some scientists argue Tambora alone couldn't have caused such prolonged darkness. Others believe multiple minor eruptions may have occurred simultaneously in unrecorded regions. There's even a theory that a rare solar minimum amplified the volcanic effect. Compounding the chill, you look out your window late one evening and notice something unsettling. No shadows. The light is flat, lifeless. The world outside your home has become a painting left in the rain in your diary. You write, June 18th. The sun remains a ghost. Crops wither before they rise. Chickens are restless. And I heard the river say nothing today. It's getting harder to tell what's real and what's imagined. You dream of dark clouds shaped like whales and of fireflies that don't blink. You start keeping a lantern lit at all hours. Not because you're afraid of the dark, but because you've forgotten what true daylight feels like. And somewhere in the back of your mind, the name sticks. Tambora, not a god, not a monster, just a mountain. But mountains, it seems, can whisper. Across time and today, you are listening. You know it's bad when even the rats stop coming. They used to sneak into your kitchen, little gray shapes in the night, chewing at sacks of grain. But there's nothing left to chew now. The grain's gone. The root cellar echoes. You reach for the flour tin, shake it, and hear nothing but the scrape of your own hope outside. Your neighbor is boiling dandelion greens, not in broth, just in water. Another family down the lane has started grinding bark from the birch trees, trying to make something that looks like bread. It doesn't taste like it. It doesn't fill the belly, but it gives the hand something to do. It's July, and still, there's frost. You plant anyway. You kneel into the soil like it owes you something. But when the sprouts come up, they come up yellow. Shivering in the dirt like sickly ghosts, the town gathers each Sunday, not to pray anymore, though some still do, but to talk, share, trade, complain, cry. I had 6 chickens. Someone mutters, now I've got none. I sold my boots. For seed, the crows ate it. I ate the seed. No one judges. You overhear talk of famine across Europe, Germany, Ireland, France, riots breaking out over flour, coal, even candles. One letter from Vienna says people are breaking into barns to sleep with livestock, just for warmth. Obscure tidbit. In 1816, the price of oats in Switzerland rose over 400%. Horses starved. Travel collapsed. In Ireland, entire families survived on spoiled turnips or nothing at all. You wrap yourself in your winter shawl and sit by the hearth. There, No fire, just an empty grate. You don't want to burn the last of the wood. Not yet. Instead, you press your palms together. Breathe into them. Close your eyes. You remember warmth. You remember laughter. You remember spring. But remembering doesn't boil potatoes. Not that you have potatoes your cousin stops by. Wrapped in layers, his cheeks hollow, voice dry, he offers half a loaf of bread he made from rye, thistle, and crushed oats. It's bitter, but it's food. You thank him like he saved your life. Maybe he has. Baker's wife has stopped selling pies. She sells biscuits now, made from cornmeal and mystery. No one asks what's in them. They just nod and buy. The word famine begins to appear on pamphlets. Passed from hand to trembling hand, no one says it out loud at first. It feels too final, too medieval. Then someone does. In the square he stands on a crate and shouts, "This is famine. Call it what it is." You listen. So does everyone else. And for a moment, the silence seems heavier humor. When it comes, is thin and brittle. Even the mice are fasting. The blacksmith says, "I taught my children to chew slowly." Someone else adds, "At least I'm losing weight." One woman smirks, adjusting her belt to the next hole. No one laughs too hard. You don't want to waste the calories. Mainstream historical fact. Global grain shortages in 1816 led to massive spikes in food prices. In England, wheat rose to 3 times its normal cost. Food. Riots became common in cities like London, Paris, and Berlin. Thousands died of starvation or cold. Scholarly debate. Some historians argue the worst death tolls weren't from famine itself, but from disease that followed, the result of poor nutrition and overcrowded living conditions. Typhus and dysentery became constant companions in many regions. One night, you dream of apples. Not a feast, just one crisp apple, warm from the sun, juice running down your chin. You wake up crying, not from sadness, but from hunger. You find yourself chewing on a scrap of leather from your bootlace. You stop, embarrassed, but no one would blame you. Even the clergy have started to ration communion wafers. The cold doesn't help. It creeps under the doors, through cracks in the floorboards. You try to patch the window with waxed paper, but it fogs. Then, tears. You hear of entire towns in the Alps closing schools for the summer, not for vacation, but because the children are too cold and too hungry to learn. You begin to forget what warm food feels like. You begin to forget what warm anything feels like. In your journal, you write, August 3rd, the garden has died. Again, the well is muddy. I have 6 candles left. I am saving them for Christmas. If we reach Christmas, you look into the fireless hearth and imagine it full of light. Strange how memory works. You remember so vividly the scent of stew, the crackle of logs, the comfort of soup shared between friends. It's all still there in the mind, but your belly doesn't believe in memory anymore. And yet, you endure, because what else is there to do? You wouldn't think a year like this gray, hungry, endless could give birth to a legend, but it does thousands of miles from your cold hearth. In a villa near Lake Geneva, candles flicker against damp window panes. Rain taps the glass like a metronome, steady and endless. A group of travelers huddle inside, wrapped in shawls, their breath visible in the summer air. Among them, a poet, a philosopher, a rebellious air, and a young woman barely out of girlhood. Her name is Mary. Outside, the world sulks beneath endless clouds, but inside, ideas catch fire. Lord Byron tired of the rain, the mud. The gloom challenges the others to a contest. Write a ghost story. What else is there to do, after all, when the sky is nothing but wool and ink, and the lakeshore mist hides the horizon? Mary quiet, curious dreams of something stitched together, of life stolen from death, of lightning and graveyards, and the consequences of hubris. She doesn't know it yet, But she's writing Frankenstein, and it wouldn't exist. None of it without this strange, stolen summer mainstream fact. The dreary weather of 1816 trapped Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, Lord Byron, and John Polidori indoors at Villa Diodati. Their resulting contest burst Frankenstein and the vampire. Considered the first modern horror stories, you shift beneath your blankets, surprised that something as cold and quiet as this year could inspire. Something loud, something immortal. But maybe that's the point out of darkness. Invention out of stillness, creation, Mary's vision, written by candlelight, echoes the mood of the year. It was on a dreary night of November. Her monster is made from forgotten parts, a stitched-together body with no season, no warmth, no place in the natural order. Sound familiar? You chuckle. This year, you're the monster bundled in wool, wandering past empty fields, watching the sky like it owes you something. You hear that back in Geneva. Byron's been writing too. He pens a poem titled Darkness. It reads, I had a dream, which was not all a dream. The bright sun was extinguished. Obscure tidbit. That poem, written during the darkest days of 1816, describes a vision of global cataclysm where the sun dies, the stars fall, and mankind devours itself. It's apocalyptic, but eerily familiar to anyone living through this year back in your village. There's no talk of poetry, but the local apothecary starts selling sleep draughts made from valerian, and wine people are restless, not just from hunger anymore, but from the strangeness of it all. Why isn't the sun returning? You stop by the weaver's shop and find her sewing in the dark, no candles lit, just a sliver of gray light and muscle memory. I don't need to see anymore, she says. I know where each thread belongs, and something about that haunts you more than it should at the tavern. Someone jokes, we should write our own ghost stories. This whole year's one anyway. Just call it my diary. Another replies, raising their mug. Everyone laughs too loudly. Maybe, but you're not quite laughing, because when you dream now, it's not of apples or summer, it's of strange machines and flickering lights and a figure in the snow walking toward you, stitched, silent. Alone you wonder if Mary Shelley dreamed of you. Scholarly debate. Some researchers argue that Tambra's eruption not only altered climate, but deeply influenced Western culture, birthing Gothic horror, environmental anxiety, and romantic melancholy. Others dismiss this as coincidence, noting the trends were already underway. But coincidence or not, Frankenstein would not exist without the cold, without the candles, without the year when nature forgot its lines, and neither would the soft hush that settled over your world. It's almost poetic. In a way, the summer of no sun birthed a creature of shadow, and now, in your bed, you drift through the pages of your own quiet nightmare, one stitched together by frost and fog and the silence that came after the thunder in your journal. You write, September 1st, the monster walks, but we built it ourselves, with fire and fear and the bones of our certainty. Outside, the clouds glow faintly red, a reminder that somewhere, far away, a mountain still breathes ash into the sky. You don't light the candle tonight. You want to see what the dark reveals you. Don't notice it at first. The absence of birdsong. You're used to the silence by now, used to waking in half-light, to sipping weak tea by a cold hearth. But one morning, you pause with your hand on the gate, and it hits you. The birds are gone, not all of them. A few stubborn crows still cling to fence posts, watching the gray world with glassy eyes. But the songbirds, the robins, the finches, vanished, as if the melodies themselves have frozen mid-air and fallen to earth like brittle leaves. You ask the baker if she's noticed. She nods, wiping her hands on a flowerless apron. Too cold for them, she mutters. Or maybe they flew off, looking for a summer that exists. You try not to take that personally. Later, you visit the old schoolhouse. The windows are boarded, Inside, a single bell hangs from a nail. No one rings it anymore. Children still play, sort of. You see two of them kicking a stone through slush, their laughter thin and uncertain. One wears a scarf that's more whole than wool. The other's mittens are made from stitched-together scraps. It's September, and snow has returned mainstream historical fact. In 1816, migratory patterns of birds were heavily disrupted. Species that typically flew north remained in southern regions. Some never returned. Naturalists documented a notable silence in forests. Across the northeastern United States and parts of Europe, you sit by the river, trying to read, but the water's too loud. It shouldn't be. The river is thin now, slowed by drought, but the silence makes its movement sing. Amplified, you flip a page. The words blur too. Little light again. You glance up and see a flock of blackbirds in the distance, moving quickly, tightly, as if they've forgotten where they're going, but can't afford to stop. Obscure tidbit. In a village in Vermont, locals recorded an eerie phenomenon in August 1816. A week without any visible birds. Farmers swore that even the chickens had stopped clucking. That evening, the wind picks up. You hear it whisper through the bare trees. Whisper. Not howl. It sounds like paper being torn very slowly. Your neighbor, the one with the small orchard, says she heard a nightingale 2 days ago. But when she went outside, it was only the hinge on her gate. She laughs about it, but not really. It's strange. This quiet, not peaceful, not holy, just wrong. The preacher says it's the end times. The librarian says it's temporary, but you? You think the world has forgotten how to sing. You try whistling once, just to break the stillness. The sound is sharp, out of place, almost violent in the soft gray hush. You stop. You start noticing other absences. The bees, the frogs, the rustle of squirrels in the leaves. It's not just the sun that's gone missing. It's the rhythm. You write in your journal. September 22nd. The air feels empty, soundless, like everything has taken a breath and refused to let it out. Scholarly debate. Some researchers propose that volcanic ash and high-altitude aerosols disrupted not just climate, but entire ecosystems. Insects vanished. Plants failed to pollinate. Food chains buckled. The silence, they say, was ecological, but others argue memory plays tricks, that people wanted to believe nature had paused. To make sense of the chaos, you're not sure. You just know that your walk to the post office today felt hollow. You passed the elm tree that usually rattles with life, and it stood still. You passed the bakery, and the door didn't creak. You passed the school, and the bell didn't ring. The world feels paused, but time hasn't stopped. Your bones ache. Your breath fogs. Your hunger persists, and still, you wait. You think of the birds, whether they'll return next year, whether they'll remember how to. You think of the night, how it falls so early now, and you think of the silence, not just as a lack, but as a presence, a companion in the stillness. You begin to hear yourself again, the beat of your own heart, the whisper of your own name, and for the first time in weeks, you hum softly, a lullaby you don't quite remember learning. The sound is small, but it's something you don't go down to the cellar unless you have to. It's not out of fear, it's just that lately, opening the door feels like opening a memory you're not ready to visit. But today, you need to know what's left. You light a candle, twist the iron ring handle, and step down into the cool earth beneath your home. The air is colder than it should be. You see your breath. You whisper a curse under it. The shelves are mostly bare now. A few jars sit in silence. Pickled beets, cloudy jam, 2 onions shriveled like old paper. The apples are gone. The carrots turned last week. You'd tried saving them. Too damp, too cold. You tap one of the jars, and it echoes louder than expected. Silence again. The way sound behaves strangely in this year. Your fingers trace the frost on the stone wall. A cellar. In August should not hold frost, but here it is, glistening, delicate, absurd. It forms in strange patterns, like runes. You stare at them, wondering what they're trying to say. Mainstream historical detail. In 1816, reports across New England and parts of Europe documented frost on the ground and inside homes during July and August. This wasn't just a drop in temperature. It was catastrophic for harvests and food storage. You step back up into the house, carrying a single jar of plums. You hold it like it's gold outside. A child knocks on your door. She's barefoot. She doesn't ask for food, just warmth. You let her sit by the hearth. Still no fire. But the illusion helps. You break the jar, open with a soft crack, and share obscure tidbit. Diaries from Vermont. Dated August 1816. Mentions cellar shelves freezing over and root vegetables hardening from within. Frozen solid without warning. One farmer wrote, "I've buried potatoes that came up cooked. You don't tell the child that, she just eats." Quietly, then falls asleep, curled like a kitten beneath your coat later. You visit the communal well. The water smells like iron and clay. It's lower than it was last week. Someone's carved "Help U.S." into the stones. Could have been kids or not. You hear whispers in the street that Canada is worse, that Nova Scotia is drowning, that Maine has turned to salt and ice. No one knows what's true anymore. Letters take weeks. News comes warped. Like stories retold in a dream. You pass the old orchard on your way back, once full of color, now skeletal. Branches curled like hands. You touch one and it snaps off. Hollow scholarly debate. Historians argue about how many people died during the year without a summer. Some estimate hundreds of thousands globally, mostly from starvation and illness. Others say the number is unknowable, hidden in missing parish. Records and unmarked graves. You write in your journal. October 3rd. Cellar frost again. Plums gone. One jar of vinegar remains. Shared tea with Eliza. She didn't ask for more. She just wanted company. You begin to understand something else. Something strange this year. It's teaching you slowness. You do. Everything with care now. Peeling an onion feels ceremonial, sharpening. A blade feels like prayer. Even folding laundry, so few clothes left to fold, feels like choreography. There's a kind of reverence to it all. Like the world has been reduced to essentials: food, warmth, kindness, or maybe that's how your coping joke from the tavern last night. I'd invite you over for dinner, but the menu starts and ends with disappointment. Still, people show up. Still, they laugh. The town cobbler turned his shop into a soup hall. No shoes. But you can get broth made from whatever's left. He calls it leather stew. It's not, thankfully, but it tastes like memory. You start saving the smallest things. The last match in a box, the end of a candle, a pebble you swear looks like a heart. You press it into the frost-lined wall of your cellar. A tiny rebellion, a reminder that you're still here, that there's still time, that maybe, just maybe, the frost won't stay forever. The air is still, the kind of stillness that only follows a long journey. You feel it in your shoulders, the ease, the soft weight of having carried something strange and heavy. And now, setting it down, you made it through the orchard, past the clock tower, beyond the crossroads. You remembered what was meant to be forgotten, and the fog. It didn't follow you, but some part of it remains. A scent, a hum, a knowing in your bones that time doesn't always move forward in a straight line. Sometimes it loops, pauses, lingers in doorways, and waits for us to notice it. Tonight, you did so. Rest now. Let the quiet fold over you like the fog once did, not to smother, but to soothe, to remind you that mystery isn't always meant to be solved, only experienced. Felt your breath deepens, your thoughts slow, and in the distance, the lantern you left behind still glows, a tiny dot of memory in the dark safe. Steady, Waiting until you return, sleep well. Traveler, you've earned it.